and welcome to Sky247.net presents Not Just Cricket. I have two wonderful gentlemen with me, Niall O'Brien and Deep Das Gupta. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. As you know, today our first game is Chennai taking on Lucknow, and it's going to be a very, very interesting game. Both the teams have lost their first games and their first tosses, so let's talk about this straight in, shall we, lads? Okay, so Deep, we haven't had a chance to interact, so great to have you on this show. Let's talk about our teams, please. Lucknow and Chennai. And they've lost their first games. They've lost their first tosses. I mean, it's still very early, in the league. But what are your thoughts? Chennai being a very great team, Lucknow being just new.
True. I mean, and very similar ways in which they lost their first games. I mean, if you look at LSG, again, lost 4 wickets or 3-4 wickets early. Same with Chennai as well, lost wickets early. But if you look at the squad, especially I'm talking about LSG as in the Lucknow side, the squad looks really good. One of the top sides as far as I'm concerned. Chennai, well, you can never count Chennai out, right? I mean, you have some really quality players and a lot of experience, and the positive as far as Chennai is concerned, Moeen Ali is available for the game, right? So that's a huge positive. Obviously, they'll still be missing Deepak Chahar to a great extent, but at least Moeen's available for this game.
Absolutely. Niall, what do you think the captains are doing right now? They're practicing their flick for the coin toss.
Yeah, probably. No, don't bother having a net. Just stay in your room and just flick that coin up and down. Listen, it has been important. I think the coaches have a massive part to play, because as a player, you can't start getting that psychological in your mind that, we have to win the toss, otherwise we're probably going to be up against it. So, with Andy Flower and Stephen Fleming, I'm sure their preparation leading into the game obviously has been tactical and technical in the nets, but also just getting the guys' heads around, boys, if we lose the toss, all is not lost. We can still win this game. I listened to Ravi Shastri talk a lot of sense last night. He said, yes, the toss is a big factor. It's probably a 5 to 10% factor. So, as I've said in the previous shows, if you are batting first, if you find yourself batting first and you don't want to bat first, obviously, as soon as you assess a score, so the first 2 or 3 batters assess the score, they send a message back, okay, par score is 165, 170. You probably have to stick 10% on that to allow for the due factor. So if a par score is 170, you got to try and get 185, 190, just to kind of mitigate the second innings. So that's the way you got to think. It won't always work. You might find yourself in a bit of a hole sometimes and losing early wickets, but better do that and try and get yourself above par and give yourself a fighting chance, as opposed to sitting in the dressing rooms after the game, having lost by 3 or 4 wickets with 6 or 7 balls to spare, thinking we could have just eked out 2 more boundaries somewhere. I could have gone a bit harder, maybe a little bit sooner. So I think it's starting to play out, and the coaches have a big role to play.
Absolutely. Deep, let me throw the next question to you. Let's talk about Moeen Ali, the calm, collective player, and very reliable, as you were also saying earlier. So let's talk about him further, shall we?
Well, absolutely. I mean, especially last couple of years, the way he's performed, not only for Chennai, but even in T20Is, in international cricket, that's been phenomenal. Look at that performance, both with the ball and with the bat. And what he's done, he's hit the ground running as far as, Chennai is concerned. I mean, last year he came in, batted at number 3, was absolutely brilliant. Look at that strike rate of 146, because that's something that Chennai struggled the year before, or a couple of years before, in terms of getting that momentum going in the initial overs. They would depend a lot on the middle order and low middle order to get them to par score or above par score. That's where I think Moeen Ali at number 3 has made a huge difference for Chennai, just coming in and scoring at that kind of a strike rate, and also with the ball. And especially in the opposition, if you have left-handers, then that makes him that much more dangerous as a bowler. But also, I think the fact that he's part of the leadership group of the English white ball setup rather than the T20 setup. In fact, Niall, correct me if I'm wrong, he did lead a couple of games recently, right, against West Indies or someone. Yeah. So obviously he's also a leader, and that's one thing which is so important, especially in this format, to have leaders in the side. because this game moves really, really fast. You don't have time to communicate and let people know what needs to be done and all. So you need leaders in that group to kind of take those decisions on their own, based on the situation and situation on the game of the game. And that's where I think Moeen becomes very important. And this season it might be that much more important because I don't see MS Dhoni playing all the games, all 14 of them, right? So that's where there'll be games where MS might not be playing those games, and you would need the experience and that calmness that you mentioned, Karishma, of Moeen Ali in his absence.
I mean, MS Dhoni performed extremely well in the last game. Talking about leaders, let's talk about Dhoni furthermore now. I mean, the man who doesn't need much to talk about, but let's just look at his performance right now against Kolkata.
Yeah, well, listen, MS Dhoni is an absolute champion, and I was at the game, the opening game, and he started slowly. He didn't really get into his groove early into his innings, and the crowd were, they were willing him on. They were chanting his name from start to finish, but he was slow at the start, and if Jadeja didn't get going either at the other end, so it was almost a stalemate for 4 or 5 overs in that kind of middle. But he finished brilliantly. He finished like the MS Dhoni of old, really. So the key is, and as I mentioned previously, trying to get yourself 10% above that par score. You can't have that period where 4 or 5 overs drift past and you're going at 4 or 5 and over. That just, it curtails you, really. It really hurts you. So what they need is Dhoni to play the way he played at the back end from the outset, give or take. So it was nice to see him play well. It was lovely to see him get a half century, and it definitely warmed the hearts of nearly all the stadium on the opening night. But they need a bit more. Just to touch on Deep's comment about Moeen Ali, he is definitely somebody that thrives on good leadership above him as well. So when Owen Morgan has entrusted him with ball and bat and said to him, listen, Mo, play your natural game, because there's a tendency in the UK when you play your natural game, inverted commas, and you hit one down mid-on or mid-off's throat and get caught in the boundary with 5 runs to win and your team loses, the English press are very hot to nail you. Whereas Owen Morgan backs Mo and says, no, if you're in the same situation, do it again. And I imagine that's why MS Dhoni got so much success out of him last season. So can Ravi Jadeja translate that same optimism and confidence out of Moeen Ali this year? That'll be a very interesting passage of play, I think.
Absolutely. I also wanted to ask about maybe a little earlier on the show about the MS Dhoni's batting number. I think it was normally 5 and now it's 7. So what do you think about that? A bit far down? I'll give this to you, Deep, please.
Well, honestly, I mean, this had been 5 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. I would have said maybe 4. MS Dhoni had 4 or 5. But yes, while I do understand those numbers, and I obviously, I mean, we're talking about MS Dhoni, one of the legends of the game, one of the greatest match, as in finishers that the game has seen, especially in white ball cricket. But we've got to understand that it's like twilight of his career. So and especially now that you have Moeen Ali also available, and I'm sure he's going to play, that makes it. I mean, obviously, he's got to have to make that decision whether Moeen Ali plays in place of Devon Conway or someone else. If Devon Conway and Moeen Ali play, then there's a chance that MS might not bat even at number 7, maybe, or something like that. So obviously, I mean, but having said that, I think there's enough talent before him, and where maybe he doesn't need to come and bat at number 4, 5, 6 anymore. And you know what? One of the greatest reasons why MS Dhoni is so successful as a leader, because he knows exactly what an individual can do, how much you can expect from him, and I'm sure he knows that where he stands at this time in his career. So I'm sure he's very, very aware of that, more than most of us would be. So I think I don't see him coming anywhere higher, in any place higher than where he did bat last time.
Okay, so हमने बहुत बात की है अभी about Chennai. So now it's time to talk a little bit about, especially about the two people that, well, actually a couple of them that really stood out, especially in the middle order, which is Badoni and Huda and Kumar, who performed extremely well. Niall, I'll throw it to you. What do you think about this? Why did I just go blank in that?
Well, listen, I was really impressed with both Deepak Huda and Badoni. I'll start off with Dhoni, because he showed a great level of maturity. He wasn't striking the ball out of the middle of the bat. He basically just accepted to give strike back to Deepak Huda, who actually played a really, really good knock. Showed all his experience. He showed his knowledge of Rashid Khan as well. I thought both players played Rashid Khan very well. They incorporated the sweep early, and then they tried to kind of slog sweep with a slightly straighter bat. So they weren't afraid to go downtown and over straight mid wicket. And their partnership was great. Deepak Huda, there was a bit of niggle, in the middle. There was a little bit of chat between him and the opposition. I'm not sure what was going on there, but there seemed to be a little bit of rivalry, some chit chat going on. So he took it in his stride and he puffed his chest out and actually played a superb knock. 6-4 is 2-6, good strike, great. And he actually took the pressure off the youngster at the other end. And then probably the most pleasing thing really was when Huda was out, but only needed to get on with it. So all of a sudden the youngster said, right, I've got to take the mantle now. I can't afford just to give strike to the new man coming in. I've got to take it on. And then he just went through it. He went through his gears very quickly, Deep. He went almost from second or third gear into fifth gear, which is very impressive of a young player.
Just to add to that.
Yeah, please do.
Sorry. Yeah, because I've kind of seen Ayush Badoni before as well. He was part of the India under-19 setup as well a couple of years ago. And unfortunately, last couple of years, he's been thereabouts, fringes of some of these franchises, but never got through, never got the opportunity. But I'm so glad because he's extremely talented. He comes from the same club as quite a few of India players. I mean, the name of the club is Sonnet Club. Unfortunately, the head of that club was Tajji or Tariq Sinha sir. He recently passed away. But they've produced around 20, 25 international players. So he's including someone like Rishabh Pant, right? So he's from the same club. And I've got to give credit to someone like Gautam Gambhir and that support staff to have given opportunity to wait for another fast bowler. There's another guy called Mayank Yadav in that setup. He regularly, consistently bowls 140 plus. Lanky fellow, but he's a quick bowler. So I'm very, very excited to see this new lot, a new generation coming through. And as far as Ayush is concerned, I'm not surprised how well he batted, because there'll be a lot of people who actually say he's the right-handed version of Rishabh Pant. So that just gives you an idea how talented or how good he is.
Okay. Well, we just have a quick match update. Andrew makes his debut today for Lucknow, which will be quite interesting. And Niall, you did something very nice for us yesterday. I hope it wasn't a sleepless night for you again. Let's look at your choice in our fantasy.
I backed KL Rahul last time and he let me down. So hopefully he comes to the party. I've always got Evan Lewis in there because he's a master stroke maker. Raidu and Huda in the middle for a bit of experience. And, I'm a big fan of Krunal Pandya. I think he's a very intelligent cricketer, bat ball, field, and he's the life beat of the team, the heartbeat of the team. And then DJ Bravo. And, Chamira clocking 150, bowling those lovely Yorkers, and he can swing the ball. So I did get 2 hours sleep last night. I managed to pick this team by about 4 a.m. and got to bed about 4, woke up at 6 and thought about the match. So I did get a bit of sleep. That was an easier team to pick than game 1.
Thank you. Well, that was our fantasy tracker picked by Niall. Okay, so next we have our Sky247.net presents a social tracker. Let's take a look. So this is our first tweet. My favorite footballer is Neymar, and that is his celebration, which I do. And I'm not going to pronounce everything because I always mispronounce it. But there you go. That was our first tweet. Emulated. I mean, if you had to think of a footballer.
For me, it's going to be CR7. It's going to be Cristiano Ronaldo. Where I can jump half as high as he would. No, I mean, I doubt that, but yeah. But if I had to celebrate, I would celebrate like him. CR7.
Niall, you?
Well, I'm going to show my age now. I'm going to say Roger Milla from Cameroon, 1990 World Cup.
Or
Just
your
like
dance
shaking
or
his
your
body
dance
by the
style.
like, that's me. A bit of Roger Milla.
Bit of Roger, nothing wrong with that. Let's take a look at the next one. We have our next tweets. This is what Fab Duplessis said. Dinesh Karthik is probably as close as someone can get to MS Dhoni in the final overs. A very, very big compliment. Deep, what do you feel about this wonderful compliment? Agree?
Oh, I mean, obviously, it's a huge compliment, as you mentioned. I mean, being compared to MSD, like I said, he's one of the best finishers the game has ever seen. Uh, but yeah, I mean, the way DK finally, it seems in the last couple of years, maybe 3, 4 years, that he's found his niche, what he's really, really good at. Because if you look at his career over what 20 years now, I think he made his debut way back in 2004, international career, before MSD did actually, and he's batted at number 1 to number 6 everywhere, right? He's played at every position, but I think in the last few years he's found his niche where he's really, really world class, which is finishing off games. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's as close as MSD, because for me, I think MSD is the best ever. But yeah, he's, if you ask me at this point in time, he'll be one of the best in the world. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I definitely want to ask you more questions about DK, but we just have an announcement. Lucknow has won the toss, and what do you think they've decided to do?
Surprise, surprise.
Yes, well, there you go. They have it. They have chosen to bowl. So, Niall, right decision, or you preempted it anyway?
It's an absolute no-brainer. You have to, you'd be, as they say in England, you'd be mad as a box of frogs. So you have to, you just chase it down, because the pitch, the dew comes in, the ball slides on, doesn't turn much. So yeah, big toss, really big toss.
So we need like a radical answer from you. Let's talk about the dew factor. I mean, if it wasn't the same way, would it make a big difference, is what I want to say, because they're all electing to do the same thing, and then you preempt that they win anyway. So what is it?
Yeah.
Either what this?
So basically, there are a couple of things. Obviously, dew in the subcontinent makes a huge difference. But even if there is no dew, and we're talking about, let's say, England or Australia, where the dew does not play a huge role, even then, chasing down totals in white ball cricket is comparatively easier, because you have a path. And especially in T20 cricket, batting first, the big challenge, I think yesterday's game was a great example. The way kind of Kolkata kind of disintegrated, because they were under pressure to score 205 or 200 plus, which was chased down the game before. So they were always under pressure. So it gets very difficult batting first in T20 cricket to assess the right score or the pass score. So that becomes very challenging. So that's the other reason why you would want to chase. And as far as radical thing is concerned, I think Niall's got an idea as well. But if I have to say, I'd say the team which loses the toss can make a change in their playing 11 after the toss.
That's fair enough. Do you agree, Niall?
Well, yeah. Listen, it's certainly out there. There's lots of decisions and lots of thoughts that will never be accepted from the powers that be, especially from the likes of myself and Deep Das Gupta. But there's much more intelligent people around the world that will probably come up with some scientific reason. If a tournament does keep, any tournament, not just this tournament, but something will have to give, because we've seen tournaments before where you just bat second, you win the game, like 95%. And in the end, then it becomes a bit of a mismatch. People, the fans, and the people at home, and watching the internet, they get a little bit disengaged. So, I had a random thought. If you get inserted, so you got obviously bowl second, you got 6 overs, but so if you win the toss and decide you want to chase, you only have 5 overs power play, whereas the team batting first has 6 overs power play. So it may not make a massive difference, but it may just equate to like 4 or 5 runs or something like that. So it's a bit random, and I suppose I'm an Irishman, so I'm very random. So it probably won't be taken on board, but you never know. I'm gonna chuck it out there for everyone just to absorb and take in.
Yeah, clearly you just never know. As in today we have Andrew Tai, who is replacing Mohsin Khan. What are your thoughts on this, Deep?
Well, obviously, last time, and as in the last game, they played only three overseas. So, because quite a few of the overseas guys weren't available. In fact, in this game, even Jason Holder was available, if I'm not wrong, for selection. But obviously, he's not been picked. But yeah, I mean, you take that option of the fourth overseas, and Andrew Ty is someone who's a death over specialist, bowls a lot of slow deliveries, has had a good big bash last couple of seasons, if I'm not wrong. And what I think
Yeah.
he's also done, I believe, last season especially, he's kind of reinvented himself because to a great extent, Andrew Ty had become very one-dimensional, bowling six slowers in an over. But last season onwards, he's been trying to bowl quick deliveries as well. So he's been trying to mix it up really well with the quick and the other slow variations that he has. So it'll be interesting to see how he contributes because I mean, he's had a really good start to this tournament. Actually, first few games that he played of this tournament, I think 2 years ago, he was absolutely brilliant. But then I think he's been found out a bit of late. But like I said, in the last season or so, he's been able to reinvent himself, and it'll be interesting to see how he can contribute.
Absolutely. Our news is also that Adam Mill is out and Moeen Ali is back, and that's I'm getting all these current news, so I'm sharing with both of you. Niall, Adam Mill is out. We have
Sorry, I didn't quite
Moeen
catch that. What was that?
Ali
I didn't quite catch
is
that. What
out
was
with
that?
an injury, so we have replacements. So Adam Mill is out with an industry, with an
Right.
industry. You guys, this is our team over here. So Adam Mill is out because of an injury, and Moeen Ali will be back.
Deep, I'll let you. I'll let you.
Teams right over.
Probably with a bit of connection
All
here.
right, I tell you what, there are a couple of changes there. Santner is out, Pretorius is in, so that's an all-rounder. Pretorius, the South African, he's a really good all-rounder. So now they've got Bravo and Pretorius, two all-rounders there, and obviously, as you mentioned, Karishma, Adam Mills injured, so replaced by Moeen Ali. So yeah, so a couple of changes there. Unfortunately for them, Adam Mill is not available, but he brings a different dimension to that bowling attack. I mean, especially we're talking about Brabon here, where it's like a high-scoring venue. Anyone who has the ability to bowl 140 plus is a huge luxury. Unfortunately, Chennai won't have him available for this game. So these two changes as far as I see it, and yeah, again, if you look at that side, and Niall, this is what I think is it's a little one-dimensional as far as bowling is concerned. A lot of that 130, 135 kind of bowlers, spinners generally don't have a huge role to play at Brabant because of the conditions, small ground, good batting strip. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. So a lot of emphasis, a lot of responsibility on the batters to kind of get a above par score batting first.
Yeah, and also,
Niall?
I want Jadeja to get himself in the game early. Watching the game, his first game as captain a couple of nights ago, he didn't bowl for ages. He stood at mid-off, and I want to see him at backward point. I know he's captain, and I know he has to speak to the bowlers about plans, but Ravi Jadeja at backward point is a wicket-taking option as a fielder. You see him at backward point and you're wary. The ball goes in the air, you're out. He's a brilliant fielder for direct hit runouts. He put Mitchell Santner there the other night, and Mitchell Santner dived over one, dropped the catch. So I want to see Jadeja. Yes, you got a captain, you got to marshal your troops, you got to talk about plan. I want to see him at backward point, and I want him to get in the game early with the ball. He held himself back ages in their opening encounter. So I want him to get in the game early. And also, I wouldn't mind seeing Mo Ali get into the game in the power play as well with ball in hand. I'd like to see Mo bowl even the first over. Get him involved. Get him straight into the action. So listen, I think it'll be a pretty good game. Both teams will be desperate. They'll be desperate for a win. You don't want to go 0-2. And I'm in the hotel with Chennai. They looked in pretty good spirits when they were leaving. They had a massive crowd in the lobby. I've never seen anything like it. Huge crowd giving them well wishes, trying to get a picture with their players. So they look in pretty good spirits, but I'm sure Andy Flower and his coaching staff will have his side good and ready.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I missed out on another change. Sorry, Karishma, I missed out on another change there.
No.
Mukesh is in there, in place of obviously Devin Conway is out. So three changes actually: Santner, Adam Mill, and Devin Conway. So you've got Moeen Ali, Pretorius, and Mukesh Chaudhary. Mukesh Chaudhary obviously is a left-arm seamer. I mean, he's a quickie, and he plays for Maharashtra. He's a decent bowler. I think he was part of the group of net bowlers for India in last one of the series, I believe. So yeah, interesting. But again, if you look at that playing 11, that Chennai playing 11, they bat really deep. I think apart from Mukesh and Tushar Deshpande, everyone bats. So they bat till number 9. I think that's exactly what I was trying to say as well. That they would be looking to kind of put up an above par score, and then because they also realize batting is the stronger suit.
Thank you so much. Let's take a look at the numbers tracker. It's still early days, but let's just take a look at it to see how they are positioned as we speak. There we go. There's the point table. Deep, if you can just take us through this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's very, very early, as you mentioned. This is the second game. Obviously, there's a second round of matches for every team. Obviously, Kolkata and Bangalore played their game yesterday. It's important because obviously both of them need to get the ball rolling, so to say, because obviously you want to just get that first win under your belt as soon as possible. Just get it out of the way and move on. And also the fact that both these teams didn't have, I mean, especially for Chennai, didn't have a great first game. The bowling was all right, the batting misfired. So especially for Chennai, they would want to kind of get things together.
And also,
sorry.
No, it's going to be important as the net run rate, considering we have more teams now and they have to vie for the top 4 position.
Yeah, I mean, that will play a huge role. I mean, just think about this. I mean, the last year when there were like 8 teams, one team would get through because of net run rate, right? Minimum one team. So now with 10 teams, the chances are the net run rate becomes that much more important, and that victory for Rajasthan in the first game was huge, massive. I mean, that's not a win. That's almost like 2 wins when you get a net run rate of 3. That's like almost 2 wins in terms of position and stuff. So yeah, I mean, at this point in time, even though you're not still worried about net run rate because you want to get your bearings going, get your team, the combination and the playing 11. You've got other priorities, but yeah, every now and then it's not a bad idea, because what happens is post 8 or 9 games, then you start really thinking, as in the business end, you start thinking about the net run rate. At times it's just too late. So it kind of helps if you have that back of your head. Obviously, like I said, there are more important priorities at this point in time.
Okay, well, we have something that's a little bit fun. Let me take you guys to the trivia tracker. Let's take a look. Let's see who comes out on top amongst our 2 keepers. Gentlemen, who do you think these 2 lads? Gentlemen.
Jesus. Is that Hardik? One of them Hardik?
I'll take
no, but could be.
Pant is in there.
Who's that?
Rishabh Pant in there. Is that his hair? Is that Rishabh Pant's hair or not?
Well,
there has to be one of them has to be Chennai. One of them has to be a Chennai player.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Jagdish Khan, yes.
I wanted to say it was but close.
That was a tough one. It was a tough one, but yeah, nice. Yeah, I saw that the yellow outline, and I figured there has to be one of them has to be Chennai guy. Yeah.
Okay, which cricket star said the following? I'm jealous of my parents. I will never have a kid as cool as.
Who's this legend? This guy has to be an absolute legend.
Can I possibly quote again? Is that possible or not?
One more question. So there's the same question again.
I'm jealous. I will never have a kid as cool as theirs.
Tell me, any ideas?
Uh, oh, okay.
Come on.
What country? What country?
West Indies.
Oh, Christopher Gale.
Ah,
Well done.
Like,
Well done.
Double D. Well done, Double D.
Okay, one more. Let's have a look. Who is the common thread here? Marylebone Cricket Club, London, W.G. Grace, and Sherlock Holmes.
Who? Who is the common thread?
Yeah,
Not what.
exactly.
Who?
Who?
oh. Watson, Shane Watson.
MCC, WG
Shane
Grace.
Watson, is it?
Wait, I forgot the answer. What's
Oh, I haven't a clue. I literally haven't a clue.
Let's go for the answer.
Yeah, what is it?
Go.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
There you go.
Oh,
He
really?
was the creator of Sherlock Holmes.
He's the best player Scotland have ever produced.
Wow.
And also played 10 first class the MCC. There you go. Listen, that was a bit of a.
That's a good one, though. I mean, that was really nice.
That's a good one. And that was our trivia cracker. So the winner for today is Deep Das Gupta.
Nice.
There you go. Well
He's
done.
very good.
I don't have.
He's very well educated.
So we're going to be back. Let's take the predictions before we go. Quickly, gentlemen. Predictions.
Niall?
You're wearing kind of yellow kind of color. Is that?
I'm going for look now. 100%.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess, I mean, because of the toss, as we mentioned before, it's just a little unfair, but I guess Lucknow would be the choice. Yeah, but you know what? It'll be interesting to see because also high-scoring venues like Brabant, what batting first can do is you kind of score something like a 200, 220 and kind of bat the opposition out of the game to a certain extent. That is also a possibility. And looking at that Chennai batting order where they bat as deep as number 9, well, you know what? I'll go with Chennai. What the heck? I'll go with Chennai.
Okay. Oh, so you're siding him. You just want to do symbols and you agree, Niall?
No, I don't know about the symbols or anything, but just because Niall's gone with Lucknow, I said, let's just go with Chennai.
I'll give you.
So
a symbol. Here we go. Billy Bowden out.
Let's take a look at the poll, gentlemen. This is we asked a question, and this is what our viewers have had to say. Is this MS Dhoni's last season as a player? 70% people say yes, 30% say no, which is a very overwhelming, if I may say so. Right?
Yeah.
I
Got to agree.
I agree.
Got to agree with the 70% out there.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I'll be joining you after the game. All of you who have tuned in, thank you so much. We want to hear from you. We want your questions. So we will see you on Sky247.net presents Not Just Cricket after the game. Thank you so much, gentlemen. See you soon.